Stonehurst Asylum. The asylum in England, which was constructed in 1800, is the real subject of the tale. This asylum was large, deserted, and historic. It would appear from this that the area was far from any major settlement and that winter brought snowfall. People used to come here for therapy despite this. Then, in the midst of winter, we witness an Oxford University doctor arriving at the asylum. Edward was his name. His intention in entering the asylum was to gain a thorough understanding of mental illnesses in humans. This area seems strange to him. First of all, he and his friends encounter a man named Finn. Finn had guns and was a nasty person by nature. Their displeasure with Edward's entrance is evident in their expressions. However, they let him arrive. Edward arrives and greets Silas Lamp, the administrator of asylum. That person says, "No letter of yours has been received." They are happy to hear that, and they speculate that maybe the bad weather prevented the letter from getting through, but they suspect Edward. Then Dr. Lamp asks a few inquiries concerning Edward. Additionally, he suggests that you visit the neighboring asylum in your home to learn more about mental health issues. It implies that you might travel there with ease. Given how far away this location is from your home, why have you visited? Moreover, it asks what you would discover in this asylum that you were unable to discover in your adjacent asylum. In response, Edward says, "I've come here for the serious cases of mental disorders in humans. Before I leave this location," he adds, "if I learn something, that will make me happy." The medical staff then consents to Edward's stay and keeps him in the same facility. The doctor shows Edward a few patients that day who are receiving therapy, one of them a female who is 30 years old. "It didn't seem like the girl was crazy when I saw her. She may be seen at the piano at that moment. Eliza was her name. She has conditions that cause her to stiffen when someone touches her sensitive area. This illness was hysteria, when a female experiences sensory deprivation. This girl's presence in this instance has a history of having severed her husband's ear. She was brought here as a result." Edward observes how one doctor is treated differently from another. He talks to them in a courteous manner, and they are free to move about. Not as harsh as at other asylums, where residents were subjected to electric shocks and cold water showers. Additionally, this asylum was not like previous asylums. The fact that residents and doctors used to eat dinner together was peculiar. Edward finds it odd, but he speculates that it may be the new method that doctors have developed. He consequently doesn't think much. Then, while having supper, Edward and Finn get into a fight. Upon observing this altercation, the doctor becomes enraged and orders Finn to apologize to Edward. When Finn hears him, he gives Edward a drink and pleads for his forgiveness. Eliza prevents Edward from drinking when he is about to do so. Later, when she sees Edward alone, she advises him to leave because of his ignorance. "It's best for you to go as quickly as possible," she adds later. To avoid raising suspicions, she also requests that her bags be left here. He responds, "I came here recently, so I can't leave," to it. When he inquires about the truth of this location, she remains silent. Edward thereafter begins to have doubts about this place. He spends the entire night wandering. He keeps a handgun with him in case he feels threatened. But he is unable to go because he wants to know what is going on here. There are sounds outside that he can hear. He moves to look into the noises. He follows these sounds outdoors and enters the basement. Then he descends and arrives at a location where a large number of people are detained. Their actions, rather than their words, convey the impression that they were mad. The people living in the asylum were not mad. They were personnel, including nurses and doctors. Benjamin Salt, renowned doctor, was also present. Subsequently, he queries who is tending to the patients and whether all of the staff is there. In actuality, even doctors were mad among the free. They become prey to mental illnesses. Despite being doctors and nurses, they do not think of themselves as mad. However, Edward is confused and does not believe in them. Then Dr. Salt says, "A week ago, we received your letter. He also recounts the events that occurred in Asylum's past. It was constructed by a guy by the name of Silas, who became insane when the war started. He received asylum treatment, but his medical history was complicated. Furthermore, we were unaware of his mental illness. His behaviors were peculiar. He became so insane that he started to dominate everyone. He was treated in several ways by doctors, but none of them were successful. Uncontrollable events made his situation worse. Among us, he killed 4 doctors. We were held captive here following this tragedy. And there was no food or water provided for us. Edward could now assist them. Edward was concerned about his whereabouts while he was confined. And aside from Eliza, he neither wants to nor does he trust anyone. He approaches Eliza right away and tells her the whole tale, adding that this place is not good for us. We ought to flee from this place. At any costs, I will have you accompany me. However, Eliza declines to go with you as she is also an asylum member. I told you to flee, but you left and are trapped here with us, she continues. Edward did not appear to be willing to part from Eliza. Conversely, such folks required Edward's assistance. He may either liberate them or provide them with the necessary assistance to walk outdoors. His life was in jeopardy, which made this assignment perilous. However, he operates shrewdly, convincing himself that he is ignorant of the facts while still acting in the capacity of a doctor. Nobody would have known that he was seeing such conduct. Silas, the chief of those doctors, had himself anticipated the advent of a new doctor who would report to him. Edward was taken by him in the proper way. Edward also assists the inmates who are doctors by giving them food and drink. He queries Dr. Salt on mental illnesses, namely Silas. It indicates the illness he is afflicted with. Because Edward is aware of the situation and can address it. Since it is the source of all situations. But all of the crazy pretend doctors had erased the records. And we are aware of Edward's motivation for coming here. Eliza is shown by doctors treating her as a patient as the film opens. Edward was present in a class as well. Edward sees Eliza and begins to like her. Edward had come here just to see Eliza, then. And it is to free Eliza that he comes here. After that, 2 doctors attempt to flee, but Finn kills them when he discovers their whereabouts. Due to his mental instability, he had already taken numerous lives. And this was the reason he was here. Winter has made bogus doctors feel uneasy. Is coming to an end, and people will begin to come here. And their lie will come to light. Later, Silas erases Dr. Salt's memories by subjecting him to electric shock therapy. Because he fears he will be treated unfairly like other doctors, Edward also lends a hand. In the new year, he makes the decision to go. He drugs everyone's drink one night, and Finn witnesses Edward doing it, leading to an argument between the two. Edward hurts Finn by beating him. He tries, but is unable, to deliver the drink to everyone. Since Silas is aware of Edward's plans for them. Afterwards, Edward is likewise treated with electrotherapy, much like Dr. Salt. It is the process of treating Edward's memory loss that is driving him nuts. However, Edward was well versed in Silas's advantages and disadvantages. As Edward begins the electro treatment, Silas requests one final thing from him. He says, "I would like to see the photo that I took out of my pocket." The doctor's recollection returns as he works, clearing his head. For that picture also brings up a lot of terrible memories. His craziness was connected to these experiences. Due to the fact that Silas was a doctor in the past who treated all injured soldiers throughout the conflict. And he had had enough of it. He started to have mental problems because of the loud screams that the injured individuals used to make. And he killed countless lives in this concerning state. They cried out in agony. Among them was a small child who never offered himself any forgiveness. After entering the asylum, he created a new, made-up world in which he trained as a doctor. Additionally, he claims that he is taking care of any new patients who arrive. He was acting with the understanding that doctors do not always treat their patients with dignity. After that, Finn makes another unsuccessful attempt to assassinate Edward. Going forward, he gets electrocuted and dies. In the asylum, electricity circuits outweigh fires. Edward later removes everyone from this asylum. He frees doctors in this regard. He must bring Eliza with him as he needs to safeguard her as well. Here, startling incidents frequently happen. A few minutes later, Eliza is taken by a doctor called Edward. When they saw him, every doctor went crazy, asking, "If you're Dr. Edward, who's pretending to be Dr. Edward and wants to help us?" It is now shown to us that Dr. Edward is likewise crazy. At first glance, he found Eliza attractive and desired a relationship with her. It was the actual Dr. Edward who was attending to him. He was the one who had selected his own doctor. He was spending days with folks who were mad, and that is the reason. Because the mad are able to comprehend one another. And yet, the same insane person had come back, hiding his true identity as a doctor. Edwards and Eliza had a happy start in life. And the story ends. Hope you enjoy it. Also tell me what you think about it. I would love your thoughts and criticisms.